Hello, welcome to Bygone Games. Whether you're a first-time listener that has somehow found the channel, or a returning listener from one of our previous campaigns that has been hosted here on the channel, welcome to this kind of introduction and prelude episode to the novella that will soon be, it is my hope, steadily releasing on the channel in the coming months, and most likely for most of this year. This novella will be following the events of a D&D 3.5 campaign, and if for some reason you're incredibly new, D&D being Dungeons and Dragons, and 3.5 of course being the edition, so third edition, but they did a 0.5 during part of the lifespan of that edition of the game. This sort of novella audiobook telling of the campaign will be in a podcast-esque format, so by no means do you need to sit there and stare at the video while I recite this tale to you. It is very much content that can be enjoyed while you're cooking or cleaning or going on a run or knitting or what have you. And I've found that this kind of style of content has lended itself well to the tabletop community quite a bit when either recording game sessions or retelling of the events of a campaign like this series will be doing. I will forewarn listeners, this campaign setting is riddled with references, direct inserts, fan interpretations, and all of that lovely stuff from many of my favorite fantasy settings. These include the Codex Alera by Jim Butcher, The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, Warhammer Fantasy, by all of the wonderful authors responsible for that setting, as well as the core material for Dungeons and Dragons following the Forgotten Realms and Faerun. There is a lot. If that sort of homebrew setting is bothersome to you, I apologize, and I would suggest maybe skipping this series on the channel, or if you're for some reason not overly fond of that kind of format, I hope that the way that I have done it and the way that I can present it will be tasteful enough that you can look past it to enjoy the story that unfolds over the course of this campaign. As well as getting into what is original content and what is referenced and what is things like that. The only artwork that I am directly claiming responsibility for this project will be this map that you are looking at ahead of you, which in and of itself has reference on it. Prime examples for the keen eyes of you will be the Sindarin names for elven locations on the map, because I am of course a massive Lord of the Rings nerd, and if I'm going to do elven, I'm going to do the best elven that there is out there, which is of course my own opinion. Don't lynch me over being a Tolkien fan. rambling, as I always do. This part I separated from the first chapter of this story. The first chapter will, it is my hope, be releasing at the end of the month. But this part is acting more as an introduction to the series, and the end of this video will include a prelude to some of the nations and races that are, well, our group of adventurers will be interacting with over the course of their travels and the years that this story takes place in. Before I get started, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I should cover. Not particularly. I will say all of the artwork, other than this map and any cuttings or differently framed pictures of pieces of this map that I will be using, I have found online and do not claim any ownership of, and I thank and congratulate the artists for sharing their art with the general public, and by no means do I feel that I am doing something other than giving said artists publicity of their beautiful artwork. But if for some reason any of you that find an image in this that does belong to you, that for some reason you would not like used as a reference or a inspiration for a character, location, or group of people in this setting, please do not hesitate. Do not hesitate to message me, and I will cover it or remove it or issue a formal address to said artwork that it will be, we will deal with it if a problem arises. I think that's enough kind of putting things in order and getting the state of affairs in a line. So I'm going to leave you all to sit back, get yourself something to drink, put your feet up, and listen to a brief prelude to the novella and campaign that will be titled Mustering of Lanahale. The continent of Lanahale has been a lot of things through history. At the time of this telling, it is the year 8971, according to the dragons and the oldest elven historians that could be asked. Though it should be noted that there are certainly peoples and events that persist before this year mark, many of which likely belong to the more savage or primitive races that could not be relied upon to provide accurate dates instead of oral descriptions or legends of heroes and fables. But I'm, of course, getting ahead of myself. As I said, the year is 8971. The elves of Torlore, or in the common tongue, the Golden Wood, recognize Esmeralda Ametheldir as the ruling queen regent of the elven people, until one of her grandchildren or another takes up the mantle of leadership. The elves of Torluin, the Blue Wood, and Tormorn, the Dark Wood, are led by the ladies Lilith and Marina Ametheldir, respectively, Esmeralda's granddaughters. However, both Lilith and Marina support their brother Orion's claim to leadership of the elven people, He himself believes that he is too weak and inexperienced to prove a reliable leader, and even though he has been offered the throne twice now, he has still turned it down, deciding instead to lead his people in war and to learn more from the elder elven nobility of the realm. Their mother, Ruina, that is Lilith, Marina, and Orion's mother, is still racked with grief over the loss of her love, the former king Anarion, along with his bonded companion and mount, Angron the Golden. Rona is now seldom seen, and only ever visited occasionally by Orion or Lilith. Many suspect that she will soon succumb to her grief entirely. Across the Leviathan depths of the cradled sea, the Amlung elves, or the Drake elves, were led by Malekith, still rebuild their numbers and recover the strength of their arcane fortresses from the aftermath of the Kin Wars of 8313. Malekith's corsairs, helmed by Admiral Losarn, ransack and enslave any coastal settlement they can manage along the coasts of the Leviathan depths, on both Lanahale and Caridin's shores. They have also constructed a permanent settlement on the northwesternmost point of Lanahale, a place the Northmen of that region have started to call Drake's Landing. The dwarves of Lanahale are scattered throughout their holds in the Celt Peaks, Sundering Range, and Terrace Bastion, the massive mountain ranges that spread across the continent of Lanahale. Their High King is Thorgrim Blackstone, and the ancestor in power is Kalengadin Silverbeard, who is currently tended to by High Priest Gedramir Goldenaxe. Kalengadin was awakened after the loss of Carreg Ungol in 8319 during the Second Orc War. The loss of the city also included the loss of Moradin's Forge, along with the ancestors Gromrin the White, Hala Brightaxe, and Vergadane. With the loss of Carreg Ungol, the dwarf capital has since been moved to Garthal. Trade and relations with the human kingdom of Lanahale, that shares its name with the continent, are excellent, particularly in the Briar Vale. However, elven relations are still dangerously teetering, having never fully recovered from Malekith's betrayal all those years ago. The northern tribes that inhabit the frozen wastes between the Celt Peaks and the High Fells are set to moot in their city of Kaldir on the spring equinox of this year. While there are 12 clans currently spread throughout the north, those of particular interest to this tale will be the Varg clan, who are the people of the wolf, the Mung, who are the people of the horse, the Valknir, who are the people of ravens, the Bjorglings, who are the people of the bear, the Norgans, who are the people of mammoths, and the Ormo, who are the people of the snake. It is said that Jarl Kulf of the Varg has taken up counsel with southerners, ignoring the old ways and his druids alike. King Hrothgar of the Valknir has lived through his 76th winter, his 30th winter as king, making him the longest reigning leader of the clans. The core topic set to be discussed at this year's moot is whether to raid south into Lanahale and the lands beyond, or west across the Hal Carax, as neither the kingdom of Lanahale nor Malekith's chromatic enclaves are friends of the Northmen. I hope this kind of prelude of the elves, dwarves, and northern humans of Lanahale will excite and get the imaginations of our viewers starting to think about what kind of topics might arise during the telling of this tale. I know many characters were referenced by name in this prelude, and that may indeed be a bit of a mind flood for many listeners, but do not worry. This prelude simply is here to be a primer, and as these characters are introduced into the story and our adventurers meet them, you'll come to attach a name to a face, and even dealing with some of these people, you will begin to, I hope anyway, understand the differences in culture between the different groups of humans, elves, dwarves, gnomes, halflings, and maybe even some other unknown races that have yet to make their entry into the story. As well, none of our core cast were either mentioned in this story, and they will in turn show up and they also be put to name as they come and go throughout our tale. I apologize, my dogs are a little excited at the moment. Luckily it is at the end of this recording where we're just kind of having a brief wrap up here. As I said before, we're going to be progressing in a sort of chapter format, as that is the way that the campaign was ran. So each part will be covering a chapter of the campaign, much as the way that you would see in a official campaign supplement that goes by chapter. I hope that this first chapter will be released at the end of the month, but I make no promises. And as well, I hope everyone has had a lovely holiday season and is staying warm in these winter months and the beginning of 2022. And I wish everyone a pleasant morning or evening or whenever this tale seems to find you. Come back soon.